the Shia Voice. We are thrilled to introduce you to season 2 of some of the most talented individuals in the Shia community. Just in case you don't know what to expect here, here are some of the greatest highlights.
Dim the line, please.
A burning desire to serve the global Shia identity. And they do it just right.
It's such an amazing production. I'm so glad to be here with such an amazing team.
The Shia Voice is more than just a talent show. It manifests the very definition of service. Now that you've seen some of the greatest highlights, it's time for you to contribute to the small puzzle part of a larger goal, to wave the flag of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad around the world. It's time. It's your time to open the gateway of Karbala globally. By supporting us today, you can help the most successful Shia production in recent history to multiply its viewership and exposure. Go on www.theshiavoice.com to help us take a step further.
Dear viewers, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another episode of this exclusive season of AHKAM SOS, live from the Holy Land of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein and his beloved brother Abil Fadl al-Abbas alayhim salam. And as you all know, dear viewers, this show is dedicated to be discussing Islamic laws, do's and don'ts, and to be answering all of your questions regardless of any marja. And as you all know, brothers and sisters, you can send in your questions via WhatsApp or the YouTube comments, or you can just give us a call via the numbers presented to you at the bottom of the screen, or you could just scan the barcode presented to you alongside with the numbers. But before we get into the show, I would like to offer my deepest and most sincere condolences to the Imam of our time and to you, dear viewers, on the death anniversary of Sayyidah Khadija. May Allah bless you all. I'm your host Musa Ali, and I would like to introduce our honorable guest for the night, Sheikh Ali Maash. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you doing tonight?
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah, very lovely and dusty evening
Exactly.
in Karbala. May Allah bless you, inshaAllah, Sheikh.
Ajma'in, inshaAllah.
At your service, I believe you have some sermon about Sayyidah Khadija for the night.
Yes, inshaAllah. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى أخيك أبي الفضل العباس عليهم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. عظم الله أجوركم. Condolences for the demise of Lady Khadija Salamullahi alayha. A narration in one of the most important and authentic books according to Ahl Sunnah and the Sahih Bukhari.
Correct.
In Bukhari, in the book of Kitab al-Nikah, at the end of the book, mentions this hadith about the status of Lady Khadija alayhi salam.
MashaAllah.
And this shows, this hadith in Bukhari, that Khadija alayhi salam is the best of the women of Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Afdal zawajat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Yeah.
And indeed we believe in that as well.
Correct.
That Khadija alayhi salam is the best wives of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and truly she is Ummul Mu'minin Haqqa.
Yeah.
True mother of the believers. Salamullahi alayha.
Salamullah.
In this hadith, in which when one of the Prophet's wives complained about why the Prophet so much, praises her, and Allah Azza wa Jal has replaced Khadija with this woman.
Yeah.
So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi got angry and he said, "La wallah, ma abdani Allah khayran minha." By Allah, she was not replaced with another wife. Khadija was the best, and she remains the best of the women of the Prophet, of the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Correct.
Then he says, "Amanat bi idh kafara an-nas." She believed in me when people disbelieved in his prophethood, in Allah Azza wa Jal, in his message. وَصَدَّقَتْنِي إِذْ كَذَّبَنِي النَّاسِ.
Yeah.
That she trusted me, she believed in me, where the people would accuse me of lies.
Allah. Billah.
وَوَاسَتْنِي فِي مَالِهَا إِذْ حَرَمَنِي النَّاسِ. And the people neglected their support to me, while she, with her wealth, supported me.
I believe she was one of the wealthiest women of
Exactly.
Bani
She
Quraysh.
paid all her money
Correct.
towards establishing Islam and the Risalah. And we have this famous hadith that Islam was established with the wealth of Khadija and the sword of Ali alayhi salam.
Allah.
These are the two main pillars for establishing Islam in Medina. وَرَزَقَنِي اللَّهُ مِنْهَا أَوْلَادًا إِذْ حَرَمْنِي أَوْلَادَ النِّسَاءِ. That Allah Azza wa Jal gave me through her, through Khadija, sons and daughters, offspring, while others did not.
Yeah.
And this shows the greatness, according to the Bukhari, of Khadija alayhi salam compared to other women and wives. That she is the best of the women, of the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she is indeed Mu'min haqqa, in which sadly today's in the Muslim circles and world and the sermons and the mosques, they don't mention that much Khadija alayhi salam.
Yeah.
So she's madluma. She needs to be mentioned more books to be published and more articles to be wrote about her, for example. Inshallah, may Allah Azza wa Jalla gives us the opportunity to visit her grave, inshallah.
Ilahi ameen.
قريبا عاجلا.
May Allah bless you, inshallah. Shaykhna, I believe we have just one question from the previous night that we didn't get to answer due to the lack of time, and we apologize to the dear viewers for that. We have a question, it is from YouTube, and it says, is it better to avoid rinsing the mouth during wudu, as one may have water still lingering on its tongue and feels bad about the water on the tongue?
You see, these are mustahab acts of wudu, to rinse the mouth and the nose in wudu. Do your best, avoid swallowing any drops of water, and if something unintentionally went inside, then there's no issue with it. But try to remove the excess water. So after rinsing the water inside the mouth, try to remove out a couple of times, just to make sure there's no water traces left on the tongue. And that should be fine, inshallah. Inshallah.
Thank you very much, Shaykhna. We have another question. It says, it is from WhatsApp, and it says, Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan Kareem to you as well, dear viewer. And it says, I follow a marja, and Sayyid Shirazi is the second marja I refer to when needed. I love both of them, but recently I have been looking more into Sayyid Shirazi. In my opinion, my current marja is the most knowledgeable marja out there, but I agree with Sayyid Shirazi's openness and views on expressing our Shia beliefs. Is this a good enough reason to change marja, and what are the rulings around changing them? Thank you, and may Allah bless you.
You see, we have, mashallah, maraja, grand scholars in Najaf and Qum, in which each of them, mashallah, by themselves, they are encyclopedia in terms of fiqh and usul and knowledge in the sharia. So one should refer back to for the taqleed to the most knowledgeable one, according to some opinions with this regard, al-a'lam, to be able to start your taqleed with. And that should be done through experts in the house, that who is a'lam, who is the most knowledgeable and expert, then you can of course follow. So you have to see the experts that you know, for example, in the house, in terms of choosing the right marja. We could have our own opinion with regards to which marja is the most knowledgeable to our extent of research and knowledge. and others might have other opinions with this regard.
Correct, yeah.
That shakhsiyya and marja is actually the most knowledgeable. So best thing to go back to the experts in this field and to find out which marja, of course, to be the a'lam with this regard. And you have to follow one marja, by the way, not two maraja at the same time.
Yeah.
Unless you follow a deceased marja.
Correct.
And based on his fatwa, you're following a living marja, the fatwa of the living one,
Yeah.
that you can remain on the deceased marja's old fatwa and old verdicts. In this case, you can be with the old, fatwa of the old marja, the deceased marja, and of course, with any new mustahdith and new ahkam, of course, you go back to the current living marja.
May Allah bless you, inshallah, Shaykhna. Dear viewers, I believe we have the first call for the night. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Mubarak, brother. Walaikum salam.
May Allah bless you, inshallah, and we offer you our deepest and most sincere condolences on this painful night, which is the death anniversary of the great Lady Khadija. May Allah bless you, inshallah, and we are at your service.
Inshallah. Thank you, thank you.
May Allah bless you.
But I don't know how to say this. I'm deeply ashamed of this. This problem has took over my life. Constantly repenting and praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to just forgive me and just ease my soul. And I'm just going to be honest. I'm just going to be honest and get straight to it.
At your service.
My ex-wife has fallen pregnant with my child. We are recently divorced. I have given her my third talaq 2 months ago. And yeah, as the proof is, she's fallen pregnant quite recently, and we've been divorced for only 2 months. And yeah, we really want to do what's best in halal. So we did approach an imam, and the first imam was quite he did say you need to approach another imam that has a lot more knowledge. And that imam did inform me that if the talaqs was said out of anger and not in a calm manner, not understood, then it is possible for it not to count. And that is, as I admit, that is the count for two of the cases.
Okay.
Hand on heart, one of those talaqs was only said sincerely and was really understood and I said in a calm matter. I admit that 2 of the other times I've really said in the heat of the argument out of anger. And now, alhamdulillah, now that we are with child, it's not really the best scenario because we was halal. A while ago, we was in love and halal and everything, but now we're just trying to do the best thing that's halal. And I'm trying to get as much opinion on this. I'm trying to approach and ask as many imams as I can.
At your service.
So, brother, if you could please give me any advice or you think is best I can do in this situation.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, you have the answer.
Inshallah. May Allah bless you, inshallah, brother. Thank you very much for your call. Sheikh, I believe you got the question.
Basically, when it comes to the divorce, which is performed by other sects of Islam,
No.
such as Ahl Sunnah, they don't have that condition of 2 witnesses as we have.
Correct.
In the Imamiyya, in Ja'fariyya fiqh, that you must have 2 just and adil witnesses to witness this divorce. So you can, for example, easily say to her, Anti taliq, that's it, done. Or taliq, that's 3 talaqat.
No.
And that's the issue they have, especially if it's with anger. Of course, the opinion of their ulama differs in terms of how much is the anger, the stage or the severity of the anger. If it's losing your mind, somebody who's like going crazy,
Yeah.
of course that's not accepted in their fiqh. So minor anger would be accepted, for example, in their fiqh. Of course, in the fiqh of Alim Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salam, such divorce is void and batil. You must have 2 witnesses, just witnesses to witness this divorce. So when you recite, let's say, زوجتي فلانة طالق, or if it's by an imam, زوجة فلانة طالق. So you have to have 2 witnesses witnessing, present in this talaq gathering or meeting, and then she must be in the month in which there was no intercourse has happened, في طهر لم يجامعه فيه.
No.
So in that month should be out of any intercourse in which one can actually perform the talaq and so forth. So it really depends on the madhab you follow, the imam you follow. That's the issue. It's a bit awkward.
Yeah.
But as I've said, one of the opinions which says in Ahl Sunnah that if it's a severe anger in which you would lose your mind, of course that's not accepted. But if it's a minor, they would accept it as a talaq. So you have to go back to basically your A'imma's or the Imam's opinion in your fiqh to see what is the condition in terms of if the divorce has taken place as a result of anger, for example. Different, you have 4 different madhahib within the Ahl Sunnah, so you have to see which you follow and go back. Of course, madhab al Muhammad or the way of al Muhammad is the best and the safest path in which we have, the Sahih mentions this famous hadith that I leave 2 weighty things, 2 necessary things, the Book of Allah and my progeny, Kitabullah wa atrat ahl bayti.
No.
The Sahih are filled with these hadith in Muslim and others that to follow the Book of Allah along with Ahlul Bayt, Ali, Hassan, Hussein, alayhi to the Al-Mahdi, alayhi salam, Ajjallah farajahu al-sharif. So we follow these A'imma, alayhi salam, which are mentioned as being the role models and leaders of the Muslimin, A'immat Muslimin, in their Sahih. So I should go back to the true individuals who represent Islam truly. So that's the best way and the safest way for the one to gain happiness in dunya and of course be saved in akhirah.
Inshallah. May Allah bless you, inshallah, Shaykhna. Inshallah. We have another question via YouTube. It says, Assalamu alaikum. And if one forgets to wake up for suhoor and fajr, what should he or she do?
So they couldn't have the suhoor. You could just continue with the siyam. Just abstain from eating and drinking.
Yeah. Okay.
If you couldn't, because you had the niyyah from the beginning of the month, for example, or the night, the beginning of the night, for example, the niyyah. That's it. You have the niyyah. It's door. And it's been as murtakaz, they say, irtikazi.
Yeah.
In your mind that you are in the month of Ramadan and you have to fast the days. So you missed the suhoor, you woke up, let's say, even after sunrise, for example. You missed the salah, for example, in some cases. La samahullah. But you have this intention that you're going to be fasting every day.
Correct.
On the first day of the month of Ramadan. That should be valid, inshallah.
Inshallah, Shaykh. May Allah bless you, inshallah. Thank you very much. We have another question via YouTube. It says, does music break your fast?
As I've mentioned before, we have sins which should not be committed in the month of Ramadan. And as I've read the hadith, when the Imam says, إِذَا صُمْتَ فَلْيَصُمْ سَمْعَكَ وَبَصَرَكَ وَلِسَانَكَ وَبَصَرَكَ. So when you fast, make sure your ears fast, your tongue fasts, your eyes fasts, everything, all the organs should fast in this holy month of Ramadan.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that if you, na'udhu billah, look at the haram, opposite gender with your eyes, with lust, or listen to music, that would break the fast. Of course, this is a sin counted in the holy month of Ramadan.
Yeah.
So one should repent to Allah Azza wa Jalla and do istighfar, and to avoid such sins in which would ruins one, ala kulli hal, this spiritual feeling in the month of Ramadan. You're in a spiritual month, a spiritual journey, in other words, that we should respect this holy month and the sanctity of this month by not committing the sins. And as mentioned in the prophetic sermon in the month of Sha'ban, when he said to Imam Ali alayhi salam that the best deed in this holy month, al-wara' an maharim Allah. The best deed is to refrain from the acts of haram. That's very hard. It's easy for me to pray every day. It becomes like a routine. But to avoid a very beautiful song, for example, that I like, or to avoid looking at something which is attractive, that's hard. So that's why the concentration in the hadith about avoiding the acts of haram.
Yeah.
More than the acts of wajib. Wajib, we get used to it. You know, you pray 5 times a day, you guys are used to it. But to avoid the haram, that's hard. And that's what we have to do in this holy month. As a jihadul nafs, jihadul akbar, as the Prophet mentioned. Jihadul nafs is to try to avoid committing all the muharramat. List of muharramat we have, we try to avoid one by one, inshallah, in this holy and great month, inshallah.
Especially in our time, with all the resources available.
Exactly.
You can find anything you want just with a click of a button on your phone.
Yes.
We ask Allah to forgive us for our sins. And Sheikh, we have another question via WhatsApp. It says, Assalamu alaikum.
Yes,
in regards to taharat, if after urinating a drop of urine comes out and onto my underwear, does that also make my trousers najis? What is the ruling of transfer from one najasat to another?
Definitely, you have to make sure that you purify the part, the private part, and you have to change your underwear as well as a result, or just wash it, and you can use it afterwards. But you have to make sure that you're clean from any najasa, because it will have effect in your salah. You cannot pray with this najasa on your clothes or your body. You have to make sure it's purified, otherwise the salah will have ishkal with the najasa. Yeah.
Inshallah. Sheikh, may Allah bless you, inshallah. Thank you very much. We have another question via YouTube. It says, Assalamu alaikum. If a female gets their monthly cycle at any time of the day, should they break their fast?
I think I've mentioned last time that even a few minutes before Maghrib, and she was fasting, let's say 10-15 minutes before Maghrib Adhan, and she had this issue, then of course it's gone. And that day is ruined as a result of this monthly issue. So yes, the sawm is batil.
Yeah.
They can open or break their fast.
Inshallah, may Allah bless you, inshallah. Thank you very much. We have another question, I believe. It is also from YouTube. It says, is vegetarian cuisine always halal?
You see, what we have, for example, in London, we have these restaurants run by non-Muslims, and specifically non-Kitabi, by other religions which are not Ahl Kitab's religion. So if there's a cross-contamination with the food prepared, that's all najis. You cannot consume it. So that's the issue. If they actually would touch the food, the vegetables, cut let's say the potato and other things with wet hands, for example, or make a salad with wet hands, that vegetable becomes najis. You cannot eat it.
Correct.
So that's the issue.
Yeah. May Allah bless you, inshallah. Sheikh, thank you very much. We have another question via YouTube. It says, Assalamu alaikum. Were there any prophets before Adam alayhi salam?
What we have, that there was a creation before Adam alayhi salam, before a human being, called Nas, in which they caused corruption, they caused killings, in which the Malaika mentioned to Allah when He wanted to create human beings. أتجعل فيها من يسفك الدماء إلى آخر الآية. That would you allow for a new creation to be there to kill and spread corruption? So other creation, Allah Azza wa Jalla would create anyhow creations after creations. He's subhanahu wa ta'ala wa Azza wa Jalla is great in creation. So always He would bring people, or let's say creation, to test them. And according to the test, to see if they pass or they fail.
Correct.
In Surah Al-Mulk, I think it's mentioned, لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. It will test you to see who is the best in deeds. Either you pass or you fail.
Belly, may Allah bless you, inshallah. Sheikh, thank you very much. We have another question. I believe it is also from YouTube, correct? It is. Is it better to avoid rinsing your mouth during wudu as water lingers in your mouth or tongue? I believe
we mentioned this.
Yeah, may Allah bless you, inshallah. We have another question via YouTube. It says, okay, this one we've already asked. What category, this is also from YouTube, it says, what category does sponsoring orphan fall in zakat or sadaqah?
It's one of the mustahabbat acts.
Yeah.
And we have a narration about encouraging to foster an orphan, for example. Encouraged for the one to support those orphans. مستحب صدقة على كل حال. One can actually give and support those individuals at home, bring them at home, for example, or you pay to some organizations that we have now, charity organizations, who would take care of the of those orphans by sending to them, let's say, food, drink, and clothes and so forth, and furniture to their house.
Yeah.
So that's, of course, one of the acts of mustahab, encouraged a lot. Let me just read a part of the dua.
At your service, Sheikh. May Allah bless you, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khaira. Again, in dua al-iftitah, interesting part of the in this dua, and all the parts of the dua is interesting and great. We say to Allah Azza wa Jal, Alhamdulillah, we praise Allah, we thank Allah in every line. Alhamdulillah, alladhi yu'minu al-kha'ifin. We praise Allah Azza wa Jal that He would give amnesty and peace to those who are fearful.
Yeah.
Let's say you're fearful from the tyrant or a beast in the jungle. By dhikrullah Azza wa Jal, He would give you peace in your heart. Ala bi dhikrillah tatma'innu al-qulub.
Allahu Akbar.
وَيُنَجِّ الصَّالِحِينَ, and He would save the righteous ones, those who are in trouble. Allah would save them from the pious and righteous ones. وَيَرْفَعُ الْمُسْتَضْعَفِينَ, He would raise those who are oppressed, who are mustad'af, who are weak in the society. وَيَضَعُ الْمُسْتَكْبِرِينَ, and He would put down the tyrants, the arrogants, those who, and we saw how Allah Azza wa Jal did with those tyrants.
Yeah, correct.
Then this is the important part. وَيُهْلِكُ مُلُوكًا وَيَسْتَخْلِفُ آخَرِينَ.
Wow.
Read the history in the Holy Quran, in the narrations, in the history books, how Allah Azza wa Jal destroyed, empires and great kingdoms, like Fir'aun was drowned in the sea, like Namrud, فَخَسَفْنَا بِهِ, and other tyrants and leaders of the world who were destroyed. وَيُهْلِكُ مُلُوكًا وَيَسْتَخْلِفُ آخَرِينَ. Allah is the one who would destroy the kings and the leaders, and would replace them with others.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have any doubt that the previous regime in this country, of course, Allah Azza wa Jal had وَيُهْلِكُ مُلُوكًا, as mentioned in this dua.
Correct, yeah.
So, and of course, how millions now visiting the Imam alayhi salam and Imam in Iraq freely. Flocks of people, millions come every year to visit the Imam alayhi salam. So we have to have this belief and aqidah that everything is in the hand of Allah Azza wa Jal. Whatever we have and need and want is in the hands of Allah, and we ask Allah Azza wa Jal.
May Allah bless you, inshallah, Shaykhna. Dear viewers, brothers and sisters, we will be back very shortly. We will take a short break, so please do send in your questions via WhatsApp or the YouTube comments, or you can give us a call via the numbers presented to you at the bottom of the screen, or you can also just scan the barcode presented to you alongside with the numbers. But for the time being, we will leave you with the beautiful atmosphere of Karbala. We will be back very shortly.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures of
Is it
scholars at
permissible to
home.
plant trees by or
What
over
Islam
the
establish based on peace and
Is it permissible
non-violence?
to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there an
countries?
issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, WhatsApp us on +44 7415 092155. Dear viewers, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome once again to this exclusive season of AHKAM SOS. Sheikhna, we have a few more questions, and it says, if one travels within the same country with the same time zone during Ramadan to different cities that are both their homes for the time being, can they travel during the day?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Indeed, you have two watan now, two hometowns, in other words. Sometimes you have the place that you stay there, for, let's say, for work or study for a long time. And you have your hometown, your headquarters, let's say.
Correct.
So, yes, you can travel, let's say, after Adhan al-Dhuhr to keep your fast, for example, because the distance is the issue, in which between city number 1 and city number 2. So you go out after Adhan al-Dhuhr and Asr, you keep your fast, and when you arrive, you can open your fast in your second hometown or first hometown.
Inshallah. May Allah bless you, inshallah. Sheikh, thank you very much. We have another question via WhatsApp. It says, Assalamu alaikum. If, for example, the marja I follow says something is allowed and another marja says it is not, and if I feel doubtful before doing it, is there an issue? And thank you very much.
You see, you have to follow one marja with this regard. You cannot have two marja unless your marja says that I have an issue with this mas'ala. It's obligatory precaution, ihtiyat wujubi. I don't give fatwa. In this case, this marja allows you to go back to another marja to see his opinion. Let's say with regards to, for example, najasa or tahara of Ahl Kitab. The marja you follow, he says they are najis, Ahl Kitab, impure, based on obligatory precaution, ihtiyat wujubi. And now you have contacts with Christians and Ahl Kitab at work, at home, for example, the cleaner, and so forth. So what you can do in this case, you go back to marja a'lam after this marja that you follow in this mas'ala only, and follow that marja which says they are pure and tahir. So you can take the fatwa of the other one, of the second one. But to pick and choose, no, you can't. If you follow one, you have to stick with the one.
May Allah bless you, inshallah. Sheikh, thank you very much. We have another question via WhatsApp. It says, if a dog licks my body or clothes, how should I purify it?
You just have to wash it with water. Let's say running water, you wash it and it becomes tahir, like any other najasa that you have to remove.
Thank you very much. May Allah bless you, inshallah. Sheikhna, we have another question. It says, what are the conditions for not praying dhuhr during Friday prayers? And this question is via YouTube.
Well, the ulama say today that one has two options. وجوب الاختيار, I think they mentioned اختيار وجوبي, something like that. In the previous session we mentioned that you have the two options of either praying Salat al-Dhuhr as usual, or to pray Salat al-Jum'ah with the conditions mentioned, attending the sermons, for example, and be with the Jama'ah, Dhuhr as usual, but you have the option to replace it with a Friday prayer if you want to, and pray Friday prayer instead of Salat al-Dhuhr.
May Allah bless you, inshallah. Sheikh, thank you very much. Sheikh, we have another question. It says, does the Friday Salah require the permission of the religious authority or marja or hakim al-shari?
No, it doesn't need any permission. What is important for the committees who run the mosque, for example, to make sure that there's enough distance between mosque number 1 and number 2 if they want to have both Salat al-Jum'ah at the same time. So there should be enough distance between each, a couple of miles between each mosque, so they can hold the Salat al-Jum'ah in that city. There should be distance between each other. Otherwise, in Salat al-Jama'ah, you can have same Jama'ah, couple of jama'ah in one place, 5 praying behind this imam and 10 praying behind that imam in one mosque. But Jumu'ah is an issue. That you have to make sure that one knows the ahkam for establishing Salat al-Jumu'ah.
Inshallah, Sheikh, may Allah bless you, inshallah. Thank you very much. We have another question. It says, if a person who used to reside and study in a city for some time goes to that city to visit an ill person or accompany one for medical treatment, what is the ruling concerning his salah and fasting?
I mean, this individual, he lives in a city in which he studies there or he works there, for example. So his trips are there to stay and study and work. But when he went to his hometown, headquarter, for example, and he wanted to go back to the city for the purpose of, let's say, holiday, a short break, let's say, weekend break, or to see somebody, for example, a friend, or to attend the majlis, for example. In this case, this trip now is no longer a workplace-based trip. You cannot call him as kathir al-safar, or frequent traveler in which he needs to complete his salah and fast as well. In this case, he needs to basically shorten his salah and not to fast. In other words, he needs to break his fast. He's musafir now, he's in travel now, in which he needs to break his fast and pray short as well, unless he wants to stay there for 10 days. Then he can do so, make intention of 10 days, and you can, of course, complete your salah and fast as well.
May Allah bless you, inshallah. Sheikh, thank you very much. We have another question via WhatsApp. It says, can I use cracked apps which I have not done myself? I believe like a cracked app is for instance, like Adobe Photoshop. If you want to buy it from the company, you have to buy it for money, but there are certain websites that offer it for free.
What the ulama are saying overall, the copyright which is reserved is respected. You have to respect the copyrights of these companies in terms of software, for example. You cannot actually get the original one, and track it somehow and get the original one, unless you go and buy the copied ones. Copied, let's say CDs. With copies, because this type of copies has no copyright. It's a copy. And the one who copied it, he actually takes the burden and the responsibility. But the issue is about the original software. You cannot copy it if you buy it, let's say, for example. They have rights.
May Allah bless you, inshallah. Sheikh, thank you very much. We have another question. It says, a student resides in a place and attends his daily classes in another place that is a distance from the place of his residence by the prescribed distance. What is the ruling concerning his salah and fasting?
As we said now, that he's now living in that city, working, for example, kathir al-safar, if he's traveling, let's say 10 days a month to that place for work-based purposes, study purposes. In this case, of course, he needs to, or she needs to complete their salah in full and fast as well. Now you're kathir al-safar, basically, traveling often to that place or living in that place as your second hometown or watan.
May Allah bless you, inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says, if a female is on their monthly cycle during Laylat al-Qadr, how can they get closer to Allah during this time if they can't pray?
What's interesting in book of the fiqh, when you read that one of the encouragements for the one who is in this situation, let's say, and that week or days, to sit in her sajjada, in her prayer mat every day for every salah, for the duration of her prayers. So let's say she prays Dhuhr and Asr for 15 minutes. So she sits just sitting on her prayer mats and to do dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, let's say La ilallah, Subhanallah, for example, until 10-15 minutes of the duration in which she used to pray before her cycle. And that's one of the encouragements mentioned in the book of fiqh. Why not? You're not in a situation that your dua would be rejected, of course.
Correct, yeah, 100%.
You are basically praising Allah Azza wa Jal, asking Allah Azza wa Jal. This is something natural.
Yeah.
So there's no issue with it. You can still ask Allah Azza wa Jal and read dua and so forth.
May Allah bless you, inshallah, Sheikh. Thank you very much. We have another question via YouTube. It says, is taking riba for university study in the West haram?
You see, what is mentioned, that if somebody wants to get a student loan, this is how they rephrase it.
Yeah.
For the purpose of study, because you have to have some kind of income to be able to pay for your fees, university fees, and your expenses as well, daily expenses. Then ulama would allow in terms of the student loan as a result of this situation. One can actually get the loans for this purpose.
Thank you very much, Sheikhna. May Allah bless you, inshallah, Sheikhna. We have another question via WhatsApp. It says, can I pray Salatul Layl straight after Isha, or do I have to wait for it to be after midnight?
Yeah, ulama mentioned that you can actually start your Salatul Layl straight after Isha prayer.
No.
But of course, the best time is just a few minutes before the Fajr prayer, of course, the last quarter of the night, so it's the midnight. That time is very precious time for dua, for tawassul, for asking Allah repentance, istighfar, especially in the month of Ramadan, in the Sahar of the month of Ramadan. I'm sure most people would be awake in this time. Best time when you have your suhoor, for example, start your supplications and salah and this precious time, of course.
May Allah bless you, inshallah, Shaykh. Thank you very much. We have another question via YouTube. It says, which book is more authentic regarding Imam Mahdi and Al-Ghaiba, by Abu Zainab al-Nu'mani, or the book of occultation, Kitab Al-Ghaiba, compiled by Allama Muhammad Baqir al-Majlisi? If you have any knowledge.
You see, all these books narrate hadith from Ahl Bayt alayhim salam about Imam Sahib al-Zaman Ajjallah Farajuh al-Sharif. So if you want to specifically, you have, when you read the hadith, you have to go specifically about this hadith. It's not the book issue, it's the hadith issue. Is this hadith authentic? You have to see the ulama's opinion with this regard. So it's not to do with the book, the whole book. It's to do with the hadith. How authentic is this hadith, which is narrated in this Kitab al-Ghaiba, for example, of this alim. So we work with the individual hadith in these great books by the great ulama, of course.
May Allah bless you, inshallah, Shaykh. Thank you very much. We have another question via WhatsApp. It says, please, why did Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam give bay'ah to Muawiyah? And thank you.
Well, some ulama would not call it as bay'ah or even peace treaty, hudna, ceasefire as a result. And of course, many reasons are mentioned. One should read the book about this issue, about this, the sulh, as they say, sulh or hudna. Peace treaty or ceasefire. That number one, in the Imam's army, the commanders betrayed the Imam. It's number one, like Ubaydullah ibn Abbas and others. Muawiyah bought them. So that's one of the reasons. So when you have the commander of the army leaves the army and betrays, of course, your army would be dismantled as a result and destroyed. And of course, the Imam did so to protect the blood of the Shia of Ahl Bayt alayhim salam. Otherwise, Muawiyah had a plan to make great massacre and kill all the Shia of Ahl Bayt alayhim salam. So to protect the blood of the Shia of Ahl Bayt who remained in that region.
May Allah bless you, inshallah, Shaykh. Thank you very much. We have another question via YouTube. It says, Assalamu alaikum. I have a question. Today we were having a discussion with a group of people as to what is the time one should stop eating food at Sahar time.
Best thing to follow what is mentioned in the prayer times, in which they say there's an imsak, if you can. It's not wajib, 10 minutes before Fajr Adhan. But what the ulama mention in the fiqh books, that it's better to avoid eating a few minutes before Fajr Adhan and to open your fast a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes after the Adhan. So just be in the precaution and ihtiyat side.
Inshallah, Shaykh, may Allah bless you, inshallah. We have another question via YouTube. It says, is it before the Fajr prayer, or we still have time even after the Fajr time has started, and what exactly is Imsak time then?
Imsak time, few minutes before the Fajr Adhan. Before the Mu'adhin says Allahu Akbar, or if you see the prayer times, it says, for example, Fajr Adhan is 4:30. You have to make sure that you stop eating before 4:30. As a precaution side, stop eating at 4:25, 24, 23, I don't know. You just
a few minutes before.
Yeah, just a few minutes, give it time for the purpose of the ihtiyat side. I mean, it's a safe side in anyhow.
Inshallah, may Allah bless you, inshallah, Shaykhna. We have another question via WhatsApp. It says, Assalamu alaikum. Can you pray your salah on straw, the straw material, or if muhr is not available, or there is straw?
You see, when you don't have the muhr, for example, the turba, you can pray on wood or leaves of the tree that we do not eat. Something which is not edible, or the ones we don't wear, for example. You don't wear the leaves, for example, so which are not edible. These materials you can pray on. So if the straw is part of this, then of course one can do so and pray on them. Inshallah. On the type of the material.
Inshallah, may Allah bless you, inshallah, Shaykhna. We have another question via YouTube. It says, Assalamu alaikum. When to end roza after namaz or start the time of adhan?
So when, sorry, can you say again?
When to end roza after namaz or start the time of adhan? So like, I believe.
I mean, by the time the adhan is called, of course, you can open your fast and pray as well. Of course, praying is better for the one who wants to pray first and then open the fast. But the best way, I think, one can do so, have a warm water with the dates, eat and drink, and then start your salah. And then you get prepared your stomach for having the full meal, and the main meal after the salah. I think that's the best way.
Inshallah. May Allah bless you, inshallah, Shaykhna. We have another question. I believe it is the last question, or if we have any more questions for the night. It says, Assalamu alaikum, Shaykhna. Is sushi haram? And how do we classify shrimp, lobster, crab, and seafood as halal or haram or just makruh?
What is allowed in terms of the seafood for us to eat is the fish which has scales on the body of the fish. Transparent, let's say, scales, if you've seen them, I'm sure. You can see it on salmon, I think, other fish. That type of scales, in a thin, transparent scales, that type of fish is halal to consume.
No.
And the exception is with the prawns. That is also allowed to consume. Other than that, they're all haram to consume. Lobster, squid, what we have, crabs, they're all haram to consume. And the fiqh of Alim Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa, so one should avoid. So when you have such a sushi dish, of course you have to avoid eating the haram ones. That's the issue.
May Allah bless you, inshallah, Shaykh. Thank you very much. We have the last question for the night. It says, should we break our fast immediately? Should we break our fast and immediately pray, or is it permissible to break our fast, eat, and then pray Maghrib?
As I said just now, that try to, I mean, of course, you can start straight away by Salah if you want to, and then break afterwards. But I give a good, a reasonable solution for this, that eat dates with warm water, and then start your Salah, and then have your full meal after the Salah, inshallah.
May Allah bless you, inshallah, Shaykh, and thank you very much. Dear viewers, we have come to the end of tonight's show, and we'll be at your service. You can send in your questions via WhatsApp or the YouTube comments, or you can give us a call via the numbers presented to you at the bottom of the screen. And we do apologize to all of our brothers and sisters, our dear viewers out there that have sent in their questions and were not able to be answered due to the lack of time. Inshallah, we'll get back to you in the upcoming episodes. And I would like to remind you that we are live every single night of Ramadan at 12 a.m. UK time. We'll be at your service, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.